I'm Andrew McCrae, host of Farming the Countryside. Conservation is important to us here on our multi-generational farm in Missouri, and we continue to be inspired to try new things based on the shared experiences of other producers. There's no better proving ground for climate-smart practices than working farms and ranches. We're visiting operations around the country to learn how conservation is driving agriculture into the future for healthier soils, improved yields, more resiliency to weather, and diverse habitats that benefit both farming and the ecosystem around us. Today we're in Nebraska.
We're not going to just be the same as we were 20 years ago. We've got to change. If we don't adopt and change and adapt, then we're going to be out of business. My name's Adam Heskett. I farm in southwest Nebraska on a family farm. I guess I started farming when I was born, basically. So I've been on our farm our whole life. Went to college, got my bachelor's degree, came back, been working in ag ever since. So currently we're in a grain sorghum field, and grain sorghum's been popular in southwest Nebraska. For as long as I know, we've grown up with it. And so the diversity into the crop rotation is nothing new, but it's coming back into the rotation versus the last 20 years. The biggest benefit is the amount of really drought tolerance that the crop can handle. It's unique in the fact that it can produce more grain per unit of water or moisture in a limited arid environment out here in the high plains.
I measure by how well our farmers are doing. And frankly, we're here having a conversation about conservation and diversification on farms. And so I expect our acres to fluctuate because I don't want people just planting straight sorghum on sorghum on sorghum. I want them doing that crop rotation, planting those other crops in their rotation. That provides them diversification from a market standpoint and also encourages soil health and breaks up disease and pest cycles.
With different conservation practices, it's not a quick fix, if you will. It can take several years for a practice to be fully adopted on their operation. Reduced erosion on their property. Weed suppression by using cover crops. That can be a fairly quick adoption. Letting the water infiltrate down through the root system using no-till or cover crops. Those are some quick benefits, and by implementing conservation practices, they can see over time how they're improving. How producers know that they're making a difference with their organic matter is reaching out to a local NRCS office and working with a technical specialist that's able to go out into their operation and do measurements.
So capturing precipitation, and that's a 365 days a year process out in the high plains. The benefit that a cover crop brings that I see is the ability to capture snow with height. So if you get a tall stubble, you can capture more snow in the wintertime in the off season if you don't graze it. You have that cover of the soil, so you reduce evaporation and also infiltration. So when we get those hard rain events, which I think every one we've had this year just comes in about an hour, and you might get an inch or two of rain with some hail, you've got to be able to pool that water up on the soil surface and allow it to infiltrate. And so you have the residue on top to hold this water, and then you need the channels to bring that water down through the soil profile to get it into the profile down deep.
Planting certain species that have pretty aggressive roots, they're going to be able to break through some of that compaction, and using species that are going to add the right sort and type of nutrients that you're lacking in the soil, and keeping it covered when you don't have a crop growing out there.
It can help with the ledger sheet by reducing tillage practices over the field by going to no-till, reducing the amount of diesel that you need to buy for the year, using cover crops to help with weed suppression so it's not another pass over the operation.
Soil health, I feel, especially where we're integrating cover crops, is going to take some time. We're seeing the benefits over time. The high yields, yeah, they're there, but also what I noticed from the fertility side, we're also seeing benefits from reduced inputs. So it doesn't always have to be high yields. You can have a better return on investment depending on what your expenditures are. It can be part of that risk management program to be able to build soil health and rely on that benefit for the ultimate outcome of the crop with reduced inputs. So being able to see how that works with each operation is probably something that they need to consult with area, local growers, NRCS extension, those type of people to understand, how can we build that into what we want it to be.
So the first step in this situation would just be go to your local USDA office, sit down with FSA, see what they have, and then sit down with NRCS and discuss the resource concerns that you have. And like you said, every operation is going to be a little bit different, but it's all relatively simple and it is doable. We're here to help.
Every day, all the time, we think about how we can become better with less, and how we can grow more with less inputs, less water, less fertility. We just can't do things like we used to do, because if you don't change and look at different ideas, then we can't do more with less.